So this is brachas, this is Masechta Shabbos, Daf Zayin Omer Aleph. We are dealing with we previously brought a Mishnah that talked about a large meadow that was encircled by a fence. And we said, let's say you have a large meadow, more than 5,000 square amas, which is fenced in. And there's no house where people dwell connected to this large sort of meadow. And even if it's kurayim, even if it's 50,000 square amas, that if you're standing with Rishus Harabim and you throw into this area that's been fenced in, even though it's very large, hazorek l'socho chayiv. You'd be chayiv for transferring from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYachid. My time, a machitzahi, because there's walls around it. Elish b'chuser is diurim. The only issue is that it lacks people who dwell there. Bisham Ravashi lo amar k'de'ula. I understand Ravashi doesn't learn like Ula. Ula, my time, lo amar k'shmait say. How come Ula has to learn the way he's learning? Armalach idi isle machitzos bika correlate. He says the reason why the Mishnah shouldn't have used the word bika, it should have used the word karfev. But Ravashi isn't focused on the word either bika or karfev. He says Rishus HaYachid Tani, and since this defines Rishus HaYachid, it works according to Ravashi. Then the previous Baraisa defined multiple areas that were Carmelises, and the last word that was used was Vaha Carmelis. So the Gemara asks, "To kulu nami lav Carmelis denu?" All these other things are Carmelis. So what do you mean Vaha Carmelis? So ki asra avdim Rav Yochanan lo yitzchak lekeren zavis asmuch l'Rishus Harabim. This comes to include, let's say, you have a big Rishus Harabim like Tiananmen Square, and there's like a corner that these people sort of move into. Sometimes there's an overflow crowd that pushes into this corner. Since it's the Rabbim don't, it's not easy to use this. It's not easy to use this. Ki Carmelis dummy, it's considered like a Carmelis. Bein amudim, columns that line the Rishus Harabim, and then people would sometimes gather in these columns to have a discussion. Also, nidin kekarmelis would not have a dinner of Rishus Harabim, would have a dinner of Carmelis. My time, why? Afal gav darsi barabim, even though the public walks there, kim lo mistagilu badei, it's not direct walking. Kekarmelis damya, it's considered like a Carmelis. Amrav Zeh Rav Yuda itztava shlifnei amudim. Let's say the owners of stores that had sort of like an area in front of their store that they would lay their wares on. Also, nidin kekarmelis. Now, lamandam rabbein amudim kol shekain itztaba, but lamandam itztaba hu delo nechat hashmishta. So maybe itztaba is a karmelis because the rabbim certainly don't walk on these places where the merchants put their wares. Aval bein amudim, maybe the nechat hashmishta lo. That mandam would hold that maybe it's considered Rishus Harabim. Lishnachri, and other people learn that aval bein amudim, the zin the darslei rabbim kishus harabim dami is the same. You end up in the same place. Amar Rav Bar Shila Rav Chizda, levena, a brick that stood up, the zakufa b'Rishus Harabim, vizorak, and you threw like something that sticks to the side of the brick. V'tach b'faneh, it doesn't land on top of the brick; it lands on the side of the brick, and you threw it more than 4 amas of Rishus Harabim chayiv, because it's in the airspace of the Rishus Harabim, because a brick is no taller than 3 tfachim. Anything from 3 tfachim down to the ground is considered like the ground. But al gabo potter. If it lands on top of it, you would be potter, because the Rabbim don't walk on something that's 3 tfachim high, and therefore it would not be considered full use of the Rishus Harabim. Therefore, you would not be chayav. It's not a Rishus Harabim gomer. As long as that brick stood up that way, was 3 delo darsa rababim. Aval hizmi v'higi, thorns which are lower. So afal gav deloi kvi shloisha. Even though it's not 3, also it would not be considered a Rishus Harabim because people don't walk there. But v'chibar avar afilu his mivihigi. People would walk there. People would walk there. And therefore, it's still considered Rishus Harabim. Aval tzoa lo, but if it, let's say there's excrement there, people will not walk there, so it would not be. It would be a p'tur. That means if you threw something and it landed there, according to this opinion, you would not be chai. But Rav Ashi Amar Filu tzoa, people will walk on tzoa, so it would be considered Rishus Harabim. So if you threw something more than 4 amas, even though it landed in tzoa, you'd be chai, because that area is still considered Rishus Harabim. Amar Rabbi Dvei Rav Shila Kiyos Rav Dima Rav Yochanan Ein Carmelis. Carmelis has to be 4 by 4 and up till 10. That means if it's less than, if 4 by 4 by 10 is Rishus HaYochid. But 4 by 4 up till 9, if it's, let's say, something that's built and it has 4 by 4 tfachim, 9 tfachim high, it's considered a Carmelis. So if you threw something from Rishus HaRabim that landed on that, you would not be chayiv because it's not a Rishus HaYochid. But if it's 3 by 3, it's not even a Carmelis, it would be considered a Mokum Tur. The honor of Sheish is v'toifeses ad asara. It grabs its location up until 10. Now, we don't know what that means. My v'toifeses ad asara. I lemed lo ik mechitza asara hudavi Carmelis. It means if it doesn't have a height of 10, v'i lo lo havi Carmelis, the Gemara says, I'll show you it's not correct. The low. Rav Gidlam Rav Chia Bar Yosef Amarav Bain. Let's say you have a house that's been built so that the airspace from the floor to the ceiling is only 9. But if you build a roof and you go on the outside of the house and you measure from the floor to the top of the roof, it's 10, but the airspace is only 9. So if you throw al gago mutil tatabukulo, so even if this was 1,000 square amas, you could walk anywhere on the roof because it's all Rishus HaYochid. Because it's 4 by 4 by 10 on the top. But inside, where it's 4 by 4 by 9, let's say, so it's treated like a Carmelis, Chachamim or Goizer, that we can't walk in a Carmelis more than Arba Amis. So what does it mean? My v'toifesed adasora means the adasora hudavi Carmelis. Up until 10, the 9.99 is considered a Carmelis. Once it's 10, it's a Rishus HaYochid. L'mala masar tvachim lo have Carmelis. V'chiyadam alei Shmuel Rav Yehuda Shinena, you have long teeth. Lo tevim b'mili d'shabti l'mala masar. There are no halachas regarding Shabbos l'mala masar. Now we don't understand what that means. We don't understand what that means. L'may hilchasa. I le'med de'en Rishus HaYochid l'mala masara. That if you have a Rishus HaYochid, it cannot extend higher than 10. It's not so. Rav Chizda, no, it's called a Rishus HaYochid. Let's say you're in a Rishus HaYochid, and you plant a pole in the Rishus HaYochid, and somebody from the Rishus HaRabim throws inside this courtyard, and it landed on the post. V'zorek b'nachal gaba. Afilu gavoa mea amo. Even if this post, this stick, was 100 amas high, chayiv, because there's no limitation to how high the Rishus HaYochid goes. It goes up to Shemayim. B'vnei Rishus HaYochid oilav l'rakia. Elo de'ein Rishus HaRabim l'mala masora. So what? Maybe you'll tell me that what does it mean that there's no halacha in Shabbos higher than Asor? You're going to tell me that Rishus HaRabim doesn't extend above Asor, but that's Masnisani. That's a Mishnah. It's not. Azarik arba amis bakoisel. Let's say you throw something that sticks against the wall. The wall is, you're in Rishus HaRabim, and the wall fronts the Rishus HaRabim. And you throw something that sticks against the wall and it traveled more than 4 amas. And it stuck to the wall, l'mala masar tfachim, kazark ba'avir. Since it landed above 10 tfachim on the wall, there is no Rishus HaRabim above 10 tfachim. Rishus HaRabim extends from the ground until 10 tfachim. Higher than 10 tfachim is called a makom p'tur. There is no Rishus HaRabim up there. So I did my akira in the Rishus HaRabim. The hanocha was in a place in a makom p'tur, not in Rishus HaRabim. So I did not do an akira hanocha in Rishus HaRabim dalad amas. Now, if this sticky piece of gum that landed on the wall traveled more than dalad amas and stuck to the wall less than 10 tefachim, it's kazarik ba'aretz. It's as if I rolled something on the ground. So we've just shown that this concept that there is nothing higher than 10, or it doesn't apply to Rishus HaYochid, because we said it goes up high till the Shamayim, and we said it doesn't apply to Rishus HaYochid because it stops at 10. Ella says the Gemara Carmelis. In Carmelis the Ma'ala Masar, which we already learned. Carmelis only extends up to 9.9 tefachim. Higher than 9, it'll never be a Carmelis. Vakilu Rabbanon, and the Chachamim were Mekel. And it's Mikule Rishus HaYochid Umikule Rishus HaRabim. It gives us a leniency of Rishus HaYochid and a leniency of Rishus HaRabim. What is that? Mikule Rishus HaYochid Di'i Mokam Arba Hu Dehave Carmelis. It's got to have at least 4. To be a Carmelis, it's got to have at least 4 by 4. The Ilo Mokam Tur Balmahu. And that's the same thing like a Rishus HaYochid. And there's no Rishus HaYochid unless it's 4 by 4. So that's the leniency of Rishus HaYochid that applies to a Carmelis. And Mikul Rishus HaRabim, the Ad Asar Tvachim Hu Dehave Carmelis, L'Malam Asar Tvachim Lo Have Carmelis. Just like we say, higher than 10 Tvachim, there is no Rishus HaRabim. Same thing by a Carmelis. So the Carmelis gets the coolest both of Rishus HaYochid, that anything that's not 4 by 4 also doesn't have a din of Carmelis, just like it doesn't have a din of Rishus HaYochid. And it gets the kula that above 10 Tvachim, just like Rishus HaRabim doesn't extend higher than 10 Tvachim, a Carmelis doesn't extend higher either. Gufa. Gufa always means that which we learned in passing, now we're going to learn in detail. Amrav Gidel, Amrav Chia Bar Yosef, Amarav. Baya she'ein tocho asara, like we had that case. You built a house that from the floor to the roof is only 9. When you add the roof, it's another tefach. So when you measure on the outside of the house, from the ground to the top of the roof, it's 10. But if you measure with a tape measure from the floor to the roof, it's only 9. V'kirav mashlim al asara. So he said, Al Gago on the roof, mutter l'tatal b'kula, because it's a Rishus HaYochid. Because it's 4 by 4 by 10. We say that defines Rishus HaYochid. And there's no limitation how much you can walk on Shabbos. B'socho, but within that 9 tefach high house, ein metatal bo ela ba'arba amos. It has a din of a Carmelis, and therefore you can't walk there more than arba amos. Amrabaya. However, the imchokak bo arba al arba, if you made a area of arba by arba tfachim in the middle of the house, vishlim, and you made that deep a tefach. So now if you measure from the bottom of that 4 by 4 area to the top of the roof, it's 10 tfachim, mutter l'tata b'kula. It rescues the whole house. It's a fiction. It's as if we spread this chakika, this inscribing into the floor of the thing of this house to the whole house. My time. Why do we do this? Because havi choyer rishus hayachid. The choyer rishus hayachid rishus hayachid dami. The itmar choyer rishus hayachid rishus hayachid dami. Any whole rishus hayachid is treated like rishus hayachid. Choyer rishus harabim is a machlokas. Abaya omer rishus harabim damu, and Rava omer lav rishus harabim damu. So the machlokas Abaya and Rava whether a whole rishus harabim is considered like you're in the Rishus Harabim or not. Armali Rava Labaya. Armali Rava Labaya. Lidid Choda Armet Chor Rishus Harabim Rishus Harabim Damu. You say that a whole Rishus Harabim is considered a Rishus Harabim. Maishna Meha. Why is it different than the following? We said that if you have like Tiananmen Square, which is a Rishus Harabim, that opens up into a corner area, and the people normally don't go there, but if there's an overflow of crowd, it'll push into that area. We said it's treated like a Carmelis. So the Gemara says, why should it be worse? But they have a Kechor Rishus Harabim. Let it be like a whole Rishus Harabim, that also people will only use it sort of b'shas atchak. So the Gemara says, Hasam, the reason why we don't is Hasam lo nicha tashmishte. Abaye will say, the corner of the Rishus Harabim, it's not easy to use that. But hacha nicha tashmishte, but the whole of Rishus Harabim is easy to use. And Rashi says these holes are like holes in walls that open up into the Rishus Harabim. And Rava holds that it's a Carmelis. And that's if they're 4 tefach wide. If they're not, they're a mokum tur. So yes, the corner of the Rishus Harabim is not easy to use. So that was treated like a carmelist. According to Abaya, the hole, it's easy to use these holes in the Rishus Harabim. People use it, so it is considered the Rishus Harabim according to Abaya. However, we don't stop asking questions on Abaya. Tnan, Hazorik Arba Amis, because we said if you throw something sticky that sticks onto the wall, we said if it lands and it traveled more than Dal Amis Rishus Harabim, we said if it sticks to the wall, Amalam Asar Kazorik Ba'avir. It didn't land in Rishus Harabim because anything above 10 Tvachim is considered a Mokum Tur, is a free space. If it lands Lamata Masar Tvachim, then it's sitting within the airspace of the Rishus Harabim because the Rishus Harabim extends from the ground up until 10 Tvachim. So you'd be Chayiv. Bavinam Ba. What do we analyze my Kazork words? What does it mean that it's like we threw it on the ground? Bahaloy Nach. It didn't come to rest. Like think about a tennis ball. If you threw a tennis ball against the wall, it came back to you. And here, we're talking about like a sticky fig that sticks. However, why do you have to come onto with a sticky fig? If you're going to tell me, like Abai wants to learn, that a hole in the wall fronting the Rishus Harabim is considered like the Rishus Harabim. Why do you have to come up with this strange case that you threw something sticky? It could be a ball or anything that you throw, and it landed in the hole. So if it landed in the hole under 10 Tvachim, you would be chayiv if the hole in a wall is considered Rishus Harabim. Obviously, if you have to come up with this teretz that it's a sticky fig, then obviously a hole is not considered Rishus Harabim. So Abaya, the Gemara says, can give you two answers. Zin and Mishani law, sometimes he'll say, Shani tzor v'chayvetz to mahadiv asi. Since an object will not automatically stay in the hole if you throw it against the wall, it might bounce back to you. So therefore, that's why he also would agree that it's better to talk about a sticky fig. But Zin and Mishani law, because of the les bechor. Or you have to come onto a sticky fig because not every wall has a hole in it. And therefore, it describes all cases. Imai, meditani reisha, zarak lamalam asar tvachim kazarak ba'avir. We also said that your potter, if you threw something that stuck against the wall and it landed up higher than 10 tvachim, because we said above 10 tvachim there's no Rishus Harabim. Because again, Abai will say to you, if the wall has a hole in it, amai kazarak ba'avir. Why do you could have landed on top of the wall in a chor, in a hole, hanach b'chor, and the chiteva must nisan de lesbo arba al arba. Maybe that's why you're potter, because anything less than arba al arba is considered like a mokum tur. Like we said, it's not a carmel, it's not rishus hayachid. If you threw above 10 tvachim, v'holcha v'nacha b'chor kolshehu, and it landed into any. And it landed into even a small hole. So, whether or not you need sort of a dover choshuv, like a place that is dalit by dalit, Rav Meir sover or Rav Meir sover choykekin lahashlim, that any hole in the top of a wall can be imaginarily enlarged. Rabbanon sover ein choykekin lahashlim. So clearly, it's further a proof for Abai that we're dealing with a wall that does not have a hole in it. And that's why Abai rescues himself. Shema bino. Gufa. On Rav Chisda, no, it's kana b'shus hayachid. We talked about the case in your backyard where you stuck a stick there, and somebody from Rishus Harabim throws a ball and lands on top of the stick. The zark v'nachal gav afilu gavoa mea amiv, if it's 100 amas high, chayv. Mitnei Rishus hayachid oila ad l'rekia. We said that Rishus hayachid goes up to the rekia. Lame Rav Chisda Dama Karabi. Maybe Rav Chisda, who just told this halacha, holds like Rabbi Tanya, Zarak v'nachal gabi ziz kol shuhu, because Rabbi doesn't require a dover choshuv, like a dalad al dalad to land on. Like he said, if you throw it on and it lands on a peg, Rabbi machayv v'chachamim poitri. Rabbi says you're chayiv because you don't need a hanacha al makam arba al bar arba. And the Chachamim say you do. Am lo be'ina makam arba l'arba. So Omer Abaya b'rishus hayachid kol am lo pligit Rav Chisda. When the item is in the rishus hayachid, everybody holds a Rav Chisda. Elahacha Our argument is a tree that stands in a private domain, and its branches are hanging in Rishus Harabim. And somebody in Rishus Harabim zorak v'nacha noifoi, and it lands on one of the branches. So it depends. If you say that the branch that's connected to the tree on the Rishus HaYachid is considered like Rishus HaYachid, you'd be chayiv. The Rebbe Sover, and Shadi Noifoi Basri Karo. And therefore, since the branch follows the Iker, and the Iker is in Rishus HaYachid, and the Iker has Arba, Rabbanan Savi Lo, and Shadi Noifoi Basri Karo. No. That if you threw it less than Dalad Amis and it landed on the branch, you wouldn't be chayiv for transferring in Rishus Harabim Dalad Amis, and you would not be transferring from Rishus HaYachid, from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYachid, because the branches, since they're in Rishus Harabim, they treat them like the Rishus Harabim. They're not treated as if they're in the Rishus HaYachid emanating from the branch. Rabbi, Zara Kaveres Rishus Harabim, you threw like a cone, like a beehive, which is like a cone. It's rounded and like a teepee, and it's 10 high, and its diameter is not 6. So you can't inscribe a square. If you did the hypotenuse 4 by 4, the hypotenuse is 5.6. So that they rounded up to 6. So therefore, you threw, if it's not the right dimension, you threw a kli, you'd be chayiv. It means you threw this from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim. But if it did have Rechav Shisha, then you could inscribe a Rishus of Dalad al Dalad, and you threw a Rishus. And you're not chayiv for throwing a Rishus. You're only chayiv for throwing a kli. Because Rashi says, Davi Rishus Latzma. Rava Omar Filu Eina Rechav Shisha Potter. He gives a patur even if it's not as big as 6. My timer. These things were made out of reeds, and some of the reeds stuck above 10. Since it's above 10, it's always going to be above 10, which is a makom patur. However, kafal pia. But if you threw it in like opposite, where the mouth of this thing is on the bottom, so shiva umashu chayiv. If this was 7 a little bit, you'd be chayiv, because this would be like any other kli. But shiva umertza potter, because if you use lavud, because this thing had legs, so you would, anything within 3 tfachim of the ground, you can add 3 tfachim to it because of the principle of lavud. And this would push this item higher than 10 tfachim. Like Rashi says, Im gvoya shiva umashu adayin chayiv. The kosher came to pusa mikay. And afilu gvoya shiva umashu de ikla memer hoil umechitzisel lamata v'kaim alon alach umash b'din darmin and lavud akati kula nicha b'shus harabim l'chimati pachas mishloisha samach l'karka v'amr and lavud vavi hanacha akati kulam ba'avi b'shus harabim mi v'chayiv. It's still remaining within the airspace of the Rishus Harabim. But if it's 7.5, we use lavud. So the walls of the mechitza go up all the way into the Rishus Harabim. But Rav Ashi Amar Filu Shivo Mechza Chayiv. My time in mechitzas asochna says we don't look at the mechitzas as to the outside. These mechitzas were built as a beehive to protect things on the inside. So these calculations of looking at only on the outside wouldn't apply to this, since its use is only for the inside.